Today will be lesson 15, an instructional videos for Master Kuo Lien Ying's original Guang Ping Taiji form. In the section that we're working on, as I mentioned before, this section contains many of the kicks in the form. And again, today we'll be learning 3 new moves, and one of the moves will be some kicks as well. 2 of the moves, turn and kick with soul and parry and punch, you already be familiar with these moves. So I'll concentrate on kind of the particulars of the things that you don't know. Again, in teaching these videos, I'm trying to give basic instruction for new beginners to learn the form as Master Kuo taught in Portsmouth Square, and for seasoned practitioners to give them more information so that as they perform the set, they can kind of have a better understanding of what they're doing. So trying to work on these 2 levels is sometimes difficult. So again, for this presentation, I'll do a quick run up to where we are in the form, and I'll teach the new moves. I think for the review, I'm going to go all the way back to separation of the right and left foot, so that you can see all the kicks in this section as we progress. So we start from single whip and high pat on horse. Single whip, high pat on horse. Step up, separation of the right foot, separation of the left foot. Turn, kick with soul. Wind blowing lotus leaf. Finger block up with punch. Turn around. Jumping scissors kick. Parry and punch. So this is where we are, and I'll go ahead and do what the lesson will look like today. Step back, and then left foot kicks up. Turn around, kick with soul. Step into parry and punch. And we'll end the lesson right here. So you can, in this review, you can see the similarity between the move that we're going to learn, kick up with the left foot, turn around and kick with soul, and then separation of the right foot, separation of the left foot, turn around and kick with soul. In fact, they have both the same name. So this will help you kind of understand this movement, although it's done a little differently each time. And again, in breaking up the understanding of the movements, you'll see that many times the movements are repeated, but they have a variation to them. And that'll help you kind of categorize the movements. So let me kind of demonstrate that again from high pat on horse. So in the separation of the right foot, we start off with the right kick, and we did 3 kicks. But in the movement we're learning today, we're doing only the second 2 kicks. So in separation of the right foot, we're facing, and the hands are going out 90 degrees to the direction you're facing on both sides. Separation of right foot, separation of left foot, and then here you're coming back and turning, pivoting on a 45 degree, and then here, remember that when we're doing the arms, they're 90 degrees to each other, not 180 degrees. So here we're kicking with the left foot, and then stepping down into wind blowing lotus leaf. So after parry and punch on the move that we're learning today, from parry and punch, you're on the diagonal line. You're going to step back, and we'll cover this move here separately. On the kick, you're going to kick up with the left foot, like you did in separation of the left foot. Left foot kicks up, and this time you're turning the opposite direction for the pivot, coming back again and again on the second kick. the arms on 90 degrees as you kick out, and then step into parry and punch. So the reason I'm showing you this is to show you the similarities between the kick that you already learned and then the new kick that you're learning. How to think of it is very similar, and apply those same principles that we learned earlier to this new lesson. So for this lesson, let's start off. We're on a diagonal line. Remember that we're working on this diagonal line here in the direction. So from the scissors kick, and then stepping into parry and punch, we're going to be on this diagonal line. From here, you're going to step back, and as you step back, the hands come down to the sides as a deflect. And we covered this movement in the video on Pung Lu Ji An. And those are the four movements. Pung being the push off of single whip, and then Lu being brush knee twist step and receiving, and then Ji being the press. So person is pressing in, he gets pulled, and then G is the press in, and that'll be coming up in the next couple of moves. And then on being as I'm being pressed in, deflect down, and so that's what this move is. So from parry and punch, somebody is pressing in on you, and you're deflecting down. Now in learning the move, it's pretty simple. From here, you're just going to step back and then move the hands down to the side. The tendency for many practitioners is to maintain balance. So as they're stepping with his foot back, they kind of lean forward into it and step back. So many times you'll see people going like that. And in performing the form, there's nothing wrong with that, because actually that kind of creates kind of a nicer flow to doing the movement from parry and punch. But in application and function, you don't want to be pushing into the opponent, because the idea is like an open door where the person is pushing, and you just open that door. So any kind of forward movement kind of gives them an idea that something's going to happen. And also by pushing forward, you're actually helping them regain their balance so that they're not going to fall forward as much. So in that application, as I said in that previous video on Peng Lu Jian, on needs to be step back without forward movement. So if you're practicing the form for function, it should look like that rather than like that. It's a subtle difference. And again, as a beginner just learning the movement, you don't really need to concern yourself so much with that idea. But if you're a seasoned practitioner who's been doing the form for a while, I think you would want to know that. So just stepping back. So again, you could do it both ways. I like both ways, but just remember that if you're practicing to remind yourself of function, if you always practice it stepping forward and then back, then when you go to use it, then you have that habit. So from here, okay, now I'm going to face from here, from parry and punch. It just basically looks like this coming down. The hands end up even with the body, it doesn't go further back. So from here, the hand's going to even with about the flat plane of the body here. Then from here, you're going to come. So as you step back, you're in the horse, and as you step back, you're more upright. So you're not like a stiff upright, but just kind of more centered and upright as you come back. From here, you're going to come up with the hands and do the first kick with the sole. Remember, the kicks are straight leg, like that. Again, as in all the videos, you can just practice the movement singular. So from here, step back, cross the hands, and then the hands are going to go out in 180 degrees as you kick. And again, the kicks are fast. Okay, so from parry and punch, step back, cross the hands, kick with a sole. Okay. So after you're going to do the kick, you have to do a turnaround. So as you come back with a kick down, you're going to take that leg and come across. So again, from here, parry and punch, step back, deflect. Then as you come up with the hands and then do the kick, you're going to carry this retracting foot across your body over here. So you can do this turn. And at the same time, you're going to cross your hands. So you have to kind of remember that you're going to do that turn right as you're coming off the kick. So that's a pretty important point. So let's take it from parry and punch again. Step back, deflect alongside the body, come up with the hands crossed. You're going to kick and turn. Kick, step across, pivot on the toes as you cross the hands ready for the second kick. On the second kick, you should be on the diagonal, facing this other diagonal, like here, so you kick out. And again, that little tip of turning your hip a little bit, so that when you're doing the kick on the line, you're not trying to kick straight to the side, which is working against the hip joint. You're kind of opening up the hip joint so that you could do the kick. Again, on the second kick, the arms, like on turnaround kick with sole after separation of the right and left foot, are going to be 90 degrees to each other, not 180 degrees like this. And you're going to be looking in the direction of the diagonal as you do the kick. And then as you come down, you can pivot the foot like you did before and step into parry and punch again. And of course, you've learned parry and punch. So the difficulty of this movement would just be basically remembering the nuances, the difference between what you learned before and these two new moves. So again, let's take them one more time. From the double jump kick into parry and punch. From here, step back, deflect down, okay, cross the arms, kick with the soles, straight leg kick, and cross, across, turn, cross the hands again, kick with the right sole, step down, pivot, so you're stepping out in a horse, and then parry and punch. One more time, and then I'll kind of go into a little bit more detail on that parry and punch out of the kick. So from parry and punch, so you notice in this series of movements, we're starting with parry and punch, doing the kick, and then ending up in parry and punch. So that's the easy way to remember the sequence. Parry and punch, step back and deflect, come up, kick and turn, cross the hands at the same time. Kick with the right, remember to be 90 degrees on your arms, step down, turn, step out into parry and punch. In this step, parry and punch, kick, step back, kick, turn, and do parry and punch. You can end up in exactly the same place depending on how you step on that last step. So, and you can even move backwards, as I did in that series of that video where I was doing it in a very small space and I had to adjust my distance to allow for movements coming up. So the way that you can adjust the distance is on that step, okay? So after you're doing the kick, right kick with the sole, If you come back down to the same place where you are and you do the pivot, you'll be ending up in the same spot that you initially started out with parry and punch. If after the kick you step out a little bit, then you're moving forward on the parry and punch. Also, in the same way, after the kick, you can step back and do parry and punch, and you actually can move backwards off of it. So in the form, there's leeway in the way that you move after you learn the fundamental movements, and those are kind of little tips for seasoned practitioners to learn how to adjust their form to both their personal preference, to kind of change the way that the flow is or change the positioning in the space that you're in. But for now, just to keep it basic, from parry and punch, step back with the hands alongside the body, flat plane going across, facing forward, and then come up, cross the hands, kick, turn, cross the hands again, and then 90 degrees on the arms, step, parry, and punch. On the parry and punch, we learned it way back in brush knee twist step. So here was brush knee twist step on the right, step back, brush knee twist step on the left, rock back, and parry and punch. So you notice the parry and punch is always left and right punch. And I showed you when you were learning that move about the idea that using the body turn for the power for the punch. So the hand is receding, turn, and punching like this. Again, if you're just kind of learning the basic fundamentals, there's nothing wrong with just doing arm movements. But as you progress and try to learn how to incorporate your body movement into generating power, then it becomes really important to learn that nuance of when to turn that body in back and forth using a circular motion and kind of emphasizing the circular motion of this right hand for the punch. In the same way, after the kick with a sole, as you step out into this pivot into the horse, is how you generate that circular power for the punch. So we're going to do it like this so you can kind of see what that looks like. So I'm using that turn at that moment for generating that pre-power where we talked about the idea of like that moment where you can really kind of add to the momentum to generate the power for the punch. These are all the subtleties for more seasoned practitioners to learn how to kind of enhance your basic knowledge of fundamental movement. Again, fundamental movement just being the basic movement without much enhancement of the direction of the movement that you're trying to go in. But then the difference is as you gain understanding on how to manipulate your torque in your body, then all those movements can change into much more dramatic emphasis of power. Okay, I'm going to try to keep this lesson shorter, and that will be the lesson for today. Thank you very much. When I was editing the film, I realized I needed to make a few clarifications to the footwork as in doing the spinning. Um, I've been doing for so long that it just comes natural. And I don't really think about the placement of my feet, whether I'm spinning on my toe or my heel. But once I was editing and looked at the footwork, I think I need to kind of clarify when you use the toe or ball of your foot and the heel in order to attain the proper position. And it's a little more complicated here. So from here, when you're stepping back, and then after the kick, when you step across, kick and step across, you're going to place your toe on the ground. That's the main thing. That's so that you can start to do your spin. But as you do the spin on the right foot, I'm pivoting on the ball of my foot, not the heel, ball of the foot. And then as I come in with arms, I transfer the spin of the back foot to the heel and then finish with the ball of the foot on the right. And that allows me to have my feet parallel to the diagonal line that I'm going on. The general rule of thumb, because your ankle is right over the heel, is when you're pivoting on the heel, there's no forward or backward movement. But when you're pivoting on the toe, then you're moving away from that pivot point. And so there's movement forward and back away from that pivot point. So this is a little bit more complicated because here, when you're in this position here and you're doing the kick and then you're coming back in, I'm crossing my foot to get my foot over into that diagonal line to there. But if I pivot on the toe, like here, I'll be perfectly, if I was wanted to end up with my feet facing straight back. But if I continue to pivot, then you can see that the feet aren't lined up. So from here, when you do the kick, first you start off coming across on a toe, and right about here, as you're doing the spin, I'm pivoting on the toe on the right and on the heel on the left. And now you can see that my feet are perfectly parallel on that diagonal line for this kick coming out, okay? And again, as you do the step out, when you land on the heel, so you can pivot here, that you'll be in line for the parry and punch. So one more time. As you do the step back here, the foot is going to be slightly turned out, kind of in a line on 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock here. So when you do the kick, come across to the toe. Now spin on the right toe, ball of your foot, and the left heel as you cross your hands. Now your feet are parallel to the diagonal line. Then do your kick, come back down, pivot on the heel, step, and do your parry and punch. In future, I'll do a video on the concept of ball of the foot or heel for foot placement as you go through the set. But the general concept again is that when you want to remain stationary, you're basically pivoting on the heel, and when you want to move, you're kind of on the ball of the foot. That's kind of a general principle. You have to kind of play around with it a little bit to kind of understand, and kind of once your body kind of adapts to that kind of concept, it'll happen more naturally. So